Hey guys, welcome. Today I'm going to be teaching you all the basics on how to make a plugin. This is going to be the most easy, simple guide for anybody who has no idea what they're doing about plugins. Or if you do know what you're doing, you just want to recap. Plugins are extremely useful for making Roblox games. There are tons of very popular ones used by a lot of people, like Gap Fill, F3X, Brush Tool, Archimedes, Moon Animation. There's tons. I could just keep going on. The goal is by the end of this video for you to have all the tools and knowledge to make any plugin that your heart desires. Alright, and without further ado, let's get started. To make a plugin, let's just start with any new experience so we have a nice base plate to start off with. Now that we're on our base plate, what we want to do is turn on our plugin debug service, which you can see I already have on right here. You're going to want to go up here to Roblox Studios. On Windows, it'll say File, click that, and then for both of them, Studio Settings. Right here, you go to your search bar, you look up Plugin, and you'll see Plugin Debugging Enabled. You're going to want to turn that on. Close that and make sure you click restart. Now we got our plugin debug service. If you look in your Explorer, it'll be right here. A new folder will be added. Now we just got to make a script inside for the plugin. So the way to do this is you go to Explorer, add a script. It can be in Workspace or anywhere. And this will be our script. We want to right click on it, go to Save and Export, and go to Save as Local Plugin. Now I'm going to name this my first plugin ever. Save. And boom, that'll be the script. The one that you just made you can delete, and then this can be your first plugin, which I will just call plugin for now. Now the reason we wanted to have plugin debug service is now that it's all in here, we used to have to go in, if we wanted to like test our script, we have to go to save, export, publish, or save as local plugin and then make a name. That's kind of a long hefty process. All you gotta do is do Command Shift L or Control Shift L, and you can see right there it says Hello World, and you can update it. And if I make it Hello Girl, for example, Control Shift L, it'll switch, so you can update it very quickly. Quick note to take into account: every time you Control Shift L, it will not let you go back. So if you made a change to your script and it's wrong, you can't go back. So make sure you always put the script in like the workspace, or maybe save it as a local plugin every once in a while. So today I'm going to show you how to make a very simple system that'll work with 90% of plugins. And for every plugin, you always have your GUI and then the functions that you use. So as long as those two connect, then that's all that matters. It'll make sense once we start making it. Now to set this up beautifully, all we do, we name our plugin script main. Now this is going to be the thing that opens up the plugin, starts everything, initiates the other modules. And we're going to have two modules. One of them, we're going to name it interface. So this is going to be everything that has to do with the GUI. And then the second, we're going to want to have a module called core functions. Now the interface is going to talk to the main, which then talks to the core. Interface will be like your button. Your button tells the main to go tell the core function to do the thing that the button said. It all works out beautifully in the end. All right, now to set this up, we're going to want to go into main. And we want to make sure that we get all these modules in here. So let's just go local modules is equal to script because it's inside the script. And then local interface is equal to require module dot interface. And let's do that same thing for the core functions. I'm actually just going to make these all capital because I think that'll look pretty clean for this, and then make that interface capitalized. Now that we have our modules, we want to initiate our interface so it starts the plugin. So let's do interface.init and then plugin. Alright, and for the last part of the setup, what we want to do is make sure that the interface can talk to the main script. And what we'll do is make a bindable event. So what we're going to want to do is make this module become interface, just so that's just easier to see. And then we're going to call it on action requested. And then instance.new and make that a bindable event. Now that our setup's done, we can now make everything work together. Okay, to make the interface, so just kind of make like how you normally make a GUI. So for our example, what we want to do is be able to paint something. So all we're going to do is have a button to activate the paintbrush and something to type the color we want to paint. So I'm just going to make a very simple UI. Okay, for the UI, let's just go to start a GUI. I put a little thing called dump in here already, so just put a screen GUI in there and make sure you have a frame. Now this frame, it's going to be the main frame, so you're going to want it to be like the same size. This is the window, so let's make that 1010 for that size, and we're gonna call that main frame, and that's gonna be useful for later. And anything you do inside this frame doesn't really matter anymore, but just make sure you get this main frame. So I'm just gonna add whatever I want to add. Alright, now that I'm done with my mainframe, I want to take that mainframe and put it right inside of interface. And you can go into the interface module, and we want to get the init function, and we know that our parameter is plugin. And now that we got our plugin, we want to make sure we can like toggle this on and off. So you can see right there, this is an example of mine. It's QBuild. It'll be right there. And to have multiple buttons, you need a toolbar. So to make a toolbar, it's local toolbar is equal to plugin create toolbar. And then you can just name it whatever your plugin's called. So my first plugin. And then once you got a toolbar, you can make a bunch of buttons. So a button, I'll call it the toggle button because it'll toggle our thing on and off. It'll be toolbar create button, and there's 3 different parameters here. The name of it, so my first button. The tooltip, so whenever you hover over it, it'll say, you see how it says QBuild twice? That'll be the other thing. So my first tip, I guess. And then the third thing is the ID for whatever image you like. So you see right there has like a little paintbrush thingy majiggy. That is the ID that they chose. So if we do our Command or Control Shift L, you can see right there, my first button. Hover it over, my first tip. All right, for this next part, we're gonna make a little widget. For a good example, whenever you go to plugins and you click plugin, and you see how I have like a little window right here I can place anywhere, that's what we're gonna do. Go into our interface, and then to add a widget, local widget is equal to plugin. Oh, there it is. It's already right there. Create doc widget plugin GUI. And then we put the name of it, and then we put our widget info. So for now, I'm just gonna put widget info. We haven't made it yet, so local widget info is equal to doc widget plugin GUI info dot new. Our first parameter is the initial doc state, so it'll be enum dot initial doc state, and this can be really anything, but we'll do float. So whenever you click it, it'll just be floating around, not really on the left or right or anything. The second parameter is every time you reload it, will it be already on or off? We want to keep it off. The third parameter is every time you reload it, whatever it was, should it go back to being its original or should it not? So we also keep this one false. And then now this is the size of it. So 300, and this can be anything, but I want mine to be a square. So I'll start it off 300, 300, then the minimum can be this amount of pixels. Now we just gonna make the button make this equal to true. The toggle button, let's do toggle button.click, connect to that, make that a function. And whenever this is clicked, we want the widget to be enabled, but we want it to be whatever it's not. So widget.enabled. If it is enabled and that this first button's clicked right here, it will become not, and then the opposite will happen. We can click it and we can see it goes on and off. There you go. You got a beautiful window and you can put that anywhere. So now to put our mainframe that we just made inside of the widget, we want to make sure that we get the mainframe. So I wrote it wrong earlier, so make sure this is interface.mainframe is equal to script.mainframe. And this script is right here, and then our mainframe is right there. So let's say our local mainframe is equal to interface.mainframe. Now we need to make sure it's cloned. If you don't clone it, you can lose it. And now make sure that that mainframe's parent is equal to the widget. And let's just make sure that these are separated so it looks nice. Control Shift L and click my first button, and there you go. It's all inside. It looks beautiful. You know, we put it right on the side. Looks great. Let's now send events so the core functions can use them. So what we're going to do is have in the interface, it's going to be some sort of, you click the button that fires the event, and that's going to send the action type. We're going to make the action type equal to the name of the function, so then we can immediately send to core functions which function it is. So we put the name, it'll go to here, it'll fire this function, and it'll be given the data to. And now it can fire the function that has the data. You can see in my main frame, I named them. This will be the brush button. So what we'll do is local brush button is equal to the main frame dot brush button. And we're gonna on that brush button mouse button one click. So every time you click it, it connects to the function, and we're gonna want to fire that. So interface dot on action requested fire. That'll fire the event, and all we got to do is send the action type. So what are we doing? We're trying to toggle the brush on and off, so we'll just call it toggle brush, and then the data, it just needs to be true or false, but it doesn't actually matter, so we don't really need to send anything, so we'll just keep it like that. For this next one, we'll do local brick color text box is equal to mainframe dot brick color text box, and then do the brick color text box dot. We want it to send in an update every time that this changes, so we'll do dot get property change signal, and we want to see if the text changes, and once that happens, we want to connect it and run a function, and then we're going to want to send another on action requested, fire that, and we're going to change the brick color, so change brick color, and that is all we have to do for that. Oh, and last, forgot, right here we can put the brick color text, because that's what we want to send. So brick color xbox dot text. Now that we've fired the event, we can go to our main, and we're going to want to get the on action requested event. So we do on action requested event is equal to the interface dot on action requested. Now we literally have exactly what we just had 2 seconds ago, and instead of doing fire, we do event, and then do connect, and we do function, and we now know we have our two parameters. We have our action type, which is going to be the name of our function, which we discussed in that thing earlier, and then we're going to do the data, which is going to be a table. And what we're going to do is we want to run the action type as if it's just the name of the function from core functions. So we'll do core functions dot action type, and we are going to fire that, and we're going to fire the data. Don't put the dot there. Okay. And we should just test this right now. We just do the toggle button, go to core functions, and we haven't really written anything yet. I just changed this to core functions, so it's good to name it that. And we can do core functions, and the name of the hit, or the name of the event, is toggle brush. So core functions dot toggle brush is equal to function and the data. And what we can do to test this is we can print the data, and because we just told it to do nothing, whenever we print it, it should just come back as nil, which you can see right there. But if we toggle the brush and we just want to put hello, good example, Control-Shift-L, it says hello right there. All right, now to make the brick color changer work, we just got to do the same thing, but we now got to look at brick color change, core functions dot brick color change is equal to function data. So now that we've fired the function, I want to show you all these three things that'll be very useful for functions whenever you're making a plugin. These will be used like 100% of the time that you're making a plugin, and I'm going to teach you how to use all of them. So your change history service, you can set waypoints. So whenever you Control Shift Z, you can go back and forth in time. Select service allows you to edit the stuff that you've selected. So any parts you selected, we're going to change the color every time the toggled brush is on. And then our mouse plugin, it is whatever your mouse is touching and looking at. And we can make raycasts of where the mouse is pointing at. And then when the mouse toggle is on, we will also be changing the brick color to show it working. Let's first start off by defining the different services. So local change history service is equal to game.getService changed history service. And then for our selection service, we make that one equal to game.get service selection. And for the mouse, we'll just do mouse is equal to plugin get mouse. Now for the brush, we'll do brush connection is equal to nil. And it's nice to be a connection, so every time we click the button, we want to toggle the connection on and off. So let's say if brush connection, then brush connection is disconnect, else we want to make it into brush connection is equal to, we'll do a game.run service, game.get service, run service, and then we'll just do simple heartbeat, connect that. All right, and the last thing we need to do is make this brush connection equal to nil so it can restart. So let's Control-Shift-L that. We started, it checks. We ungo, it checks. And there we go. Now we have a toggle thing that checks things on and off. Now the first service I'm going to show you how to use is the selection service. So let's do a simple loop. So we're going to do for I part, and then let's make this a base part in selection service get. So this will get any of the parts that you're selecting and it runs through them. Now what we want to do is make the part brick color. So after it selects all the parts, it will change the brick color. So what will the brick color equal to? Let's make it equal to chosen brick color. And we don't have that yet, so let's make that real quick. Local chosen brick color is going to be equal to the, let's just make the default equal to brick color.new gray. Simple gray will be good. And every time this changes down here, the chosen brick color will be equal to the date, will be equal to brick color.new data, and it will be the first data one that is sent. And if this is not a real brick color, then it will default to the gray. And the last thing before we test it, we want to make sure the part is a base part. So if not part is a base part. So if the part is not a base part, then we just return end. So Control-Shift-L, restart it. I have this beautiful treehouse to test this on. If we go over it and see nothing happens, but if we toggle the paintbrush, it'll now start painting the parts. But we can see that it's gray because it's the automatic, but if we put new yeller, you can see it starts to become yellow, so it all works out.
Have you ever heard of change history service? Well, I'm going to show you all about it today. Now, you might have heard before you can use change history service and just add a waypoint, which completely works, but it can be overridden by other plugins, so it's not the safest way, but it's honestly very easy to do that way. But I'm going to show you all the safer way today. Okay, so what we'll do is we will make a point where it starts. So let's call this recording ID and equal that to change history service. Start the recording, so try begin recording, and then we just name this change brick color is fine, change brick color, and then the display name. We don't have to put both of these. Now we just started the recording, it changes the brick color, and now we want to end the recording. So what we're going to do is change history service, finish recording, and we're going to put the recording ID that we just made. And I'm going to separate these so it looks a little nicer. And then we're going to change the recording type, so finish recording operation, and we're going to do commit. There we go. And then we Command-Shift-L that so we test this out. And to test this, we'll toggle the paintbrush, make all that yellow, turn off the paintbrush, and if we Control-Z it, we'll see that the yellow starts to disappear on all of the parts and in the order that there was starting a recording and ending a recording. And that is how you use change history service. And lastly, on our plugin ultimate guide, I need to show you how to use plugin mouse because I feel like it is so useful for so many plugins. So we go into core functions. Earlier, I put the mouse in. We don't actually have the plugin, so we're going to have to initiate this core functions too. So let's do core functions.init is equal to function, and let's do the plugin, which we should have sent to ourselves earlier, but it's all right. We didn't do that. Go to here. We're going to go to core functions.init and also send it the plugin. Now this is nice because before we didn't have the plugin, but it needs to have the plugin. We can go here and now we can say local mouse is equal to nil because we don't have it yet. Right after the initiation, we can say mouse is equal to plugin get mouse. And there we go. Now we have the mouse. Now what we'll do to show you how the mouse works is we'll put a highlight over wherever the mouse is pointing. So let's just put a highlight into the workspace, and whatever the adornee is on, it will highlight that part. So let's just put this highlight inside of the core functions. Let's put local highlight is equal to instance.new highlight, and let's put that inside of the script itself. Now wherever the mouse is, we want the adornee to change. So let's just make sure we can also just put this right inside of the loop we have going on here. So after it loops through this, we're gonna then see if whatever the mouse is hitting is something we should highlight. So what we'll do is put a raycast. So local raycast is equal to workspace.raycast. For raycast, it wants three things: the origin, the direction, and the raycast param. So let's define all those things right now. So the origin is just going to be wherever the camera is. So let's just do workspace.currentCamera. And we just want the position of that. And then for the direction, we're going to want to make that equal to wherever the mouse is and subtract the origin. So the mouse.hit.position, subtract that by the origin, and we're going to multiply that by the distance. So for plugins, you're going to want this distance to be pretty far, because why would you want to limit? But maybe you do want to limit, so you could have that as 10. You have to be really close. But let's make it like a good, 5,000, so we can go pretty far. And then for the raycast params, we're just gonna do raycast params.new. Nothing to add here, and we're just gonna put all that in right there. Raycast origin, direction, and the raycast params. And to finish off this tutorial, we want to highlight the raycast instance. So let's just check if the instance is nil. We do not want to highlight it. So if raycast.instance is not nil, then we want to highlight it. So let's do highlight.adornee raycast.instance. But we don't want to do that if it's not a base part. So if raycast.instance is a base part, we want that to happen. So let's say not. Then we want to end that. And if it is nil, then we want to make the adornee also equal to nil. So adornee is equal to nil. Last quick thing before we test, we're going to want to go right here and make the highlight.adornee equal to nil. So every time the loop is turned off, the selection is off. Control-Shift-L, let's test. We'll see that nothing happens, obviously, whenever you're not in the paintbrush mode. But if we go and toggle the paintbrush, wherever your mouse is, it will highlight it. And this is useful for a lot of different stuff. It is getting very angry right now. Thinks that raycast is equal to nil. So we'll just make it if raycast is not equal to nil. And there you go. Now there's no bugs to be seen and everything works beautifully. And you can just select stuff and there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. I know that this plugin was kind of useless, but you never use this thing that selects things and makes lights and changes colors. It's kind of silly, but it goes over all the basics, and now you can make whatever plugin you would like to make and let your imagination go wild. So I'm very glad to have shown you all of the stuff that I have learned that I use when making my own plugins. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and got some use out of the video. And if y'all are interested in the code, I left the Roblox download in the description. So, oh, I just died. If y'all have made any cool plugins, please be sure to share them in the comments for other people to use.